So I don't know if you saw last night, but former Trump lawyer Sidney Powell, the Kraken lady, you all remember her, she's back in the news because she is being sued basically for $1.3 billion for some of the things she said when she was Trump's lawyer and after she was sort of, fired or released from the Trump campaign about Biden and Trump and the contest in 2020. Like, we all remember these things. But the story isn't about the lawsuit. Really, it's about her defense. It's about her defensive argument. And essentially what she's saying, and I have a little, clipping up on screen here, is that no reasonable person would believe what I said. When I said what I said about these companies that were tabulating some of the votes and all these sorts of things, no reasonable person would believe my statements for factual in a literal sense. And so therefore, these companies can't claim damages because, again, no reasonable person would seek to take retribution on these companies. Right? Like, if you read a quote here, like there's 3 paragraphs here, but if you read the second one, it says here, she said her claims were meant to be hyperbolic and that reasonable people would not accept such statements as fact, but view them only as claims that await testing by the courts through the adversary process. So essentially what she's saying is, 1, I have First Amendment rights and I was simply exercising my First Amendment rights, and 2, I was saying crazy stuff in the public arena, but if those things were crazy, they would have been filtered out in the actual trial, and therefore, no damages have been done by my public statements. This isn't going to work. I would be absolutely shocked if a judge accepted this argument. Absolutely blown away if they did. Because here's the thing. You have First Amendment rights, but you can't slander and libel people and companies. And the thing is, this defense doesn't work for lawyers hired by presidential people and campaigns. It doesn't work. She is trying the Tucker Carlson defense. A lot of people pointed this out last night. That Tucker Carlson, when he was sued, Fox News, in defending him, his employer, basically said no reasonable person, no decent, reasonable adult would take what Tucker Carlson says as fact and as verifiable. He's basically a propagandist and entertainer. And so therefore, if you think what Tucker Carlson has said has led to people doing dumb things and has caused harm to individuals and businesses and corporations and whatever, you're wrong because no one listens to Tucker Carlson. But the difference is Tucker Carlson is a media personality. I don't think he's a journalist. I think he is dangerous. I think you reasonably might be able to sue Tucker Carlson for some of the things he said. But rightfully so, the bar to sue journalists and media personalities for what they say is very high. And it should be, because you want a press that has the ability to speak. Even if sometimes they basically just spread falsehoods, maybe for a democratic society, you want a free media to err on the side of free expression over always having pure accuracy no matter what. I get that. But lawyers are not journalists. And this was a Trump lawyer. She might not have been a Trump lawyer during the whole process, but she was a Trump lawyer during the beginning of it, spreading open falsehoods about a company and about a system and about the very essence of American democracy. And she might say no reasonable person believed her, and maybe that's true, but there are tens, if not hundreds of millions of Americans that are not always reasonable. We now know that basically a majority of the Republican Party believes at least some of what Sidney Powell is saying. Maybe not all of it, maybe not some of the specifics, but her general claims, they basically believe it. And so you might say a reasonable person wouldn't believe this, but 1, we can't define reasonable people, and 2, there are tons of people, mostly Republicans on this issue, that aren't reasonable, and that you could still cause harm. So this isn't going to work. It's absolutely desperation. And what's really weird is that if you go into the nitty-gritty of the document, and I'm not going to drag you through the BS, but if you go through it, she'll still say that in very broad terms, she feels confident in her claims. So she's sort of hanging herself a little bit, where she's like, on the one hand, I can't be liable because what I was saying was so off the walls crazy. I was basically doing entertainment. And I'm sort of like Tucker Carlson, and no one should believe me, but tucked in the document, her defensive document, she's like, yeah, but still, I didn't lie. I was telling the truth. I just did it in a way that was hyperbolic. It's not going to work. Let people hear this. If you have someone who likes this lady and who thinks that she spoke the truth about Trump and Biden and all of that, show them this. Show them that when push comes to shove, her defense is that I was lying so crazily that no one should believe me. And yet, millions of Trumpers do.